want to start on time, and honor your time. Thank you for being here. Our purpose today is to explain to you kind of our graduation through Graduation Alliance, our online virtual services. Although we are really excited about offering full-time learning for our students 5 days a week next year, we know that there are still concerns about COVID and that families have expressed interest about virtual learning options. And tonight, we hope to present our secondary version of virtual school for you. Before we do that, I want to recognize our school board, starting with President Dr. Marty Schaefer, Vice President Ms. Alyssa Anderson Pearson, board members Ms. Carol Jacobs, Anthony Velez, and Paul Wegeman, and also our superintendent, Ron Banner, for helping us make this happen today. Today's participants are I'd like to introduce to you. My name is Kevin Ikeda. I'm the assistant superintendent at Clover Park. We have Leanna Albrecht, our Clover Park Director of Community Relations, who will be directing the website. Tracy Newman, Office of Secondary Education, who will help us be our chat box and question and answer reader. Beth Banham, Graduation Alliance Vice President of Program Development. Todd Dahlstad, Graduation Alliance Senior Program Manager. Jesus Zavala, Graduation Alliance, and Aubrey Lane, Graduation Alliance staff members. The process of this webinar is a webinar format where we only see the presenters. As we go through our presentation, please look at the bottom of your screen where you see the Q&A and chat symbols. As we go through, please put in your questions that arise for you through there. At the end of our presentation, we'll be answering those questions in the order we receive those. This presentation is also being recorded and will be posted on our district YouTube site for future reference. So with that, I'd like to present Ms. Beth Banham to present.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining. I am a parent myself. My kids are a little bit younger, but I do understand that you're probably juggling a lot of different things tonight, dinners and bedtimes and all the things. And hopefully with high school students, you have a little more flexibility, but we understand your situation. We want to communicate as much information tonight as possible. There will be people readily available to answer any additional questions, both after the session and going forward. As Kevin mentioned, my name is Beth Bannon. I am the Vice President of Program Development for Graduation Alliance. Graduation Alliance has been partnering with the Clover Park School District in a number of different areas for the last number of years. We provide opportunities for students to learn in a virtual environment. And this year, we are the program that is providing virtual options for your students, both in all secondary, so from middle school through high school. About a week ago, we did a session for middle school students. So if you are a middle school parent, most of this will apply to you, but if you need to go back and listen to that middle school session, I advise you to do so. We also have a session following this that will be for middle through 6th grade through high school in Spanish. So if you are a native Spanish speaker, you can come back and join us in about an hour and we'll be ready to do that for you. I'm going to go ahead and dive right in, tell you a little bit about Graduation Alliance. Next slide, please. Graduation Alliance has been serving students in multiple capacities through a virtual environment for nearly 20 years now. We work with over 650 state and district partners, predominantly in the Pacific Northwest, and have been a strong partner in the state of Washington for a number of years. We currently have over 100,000 plus students, alternative students in our program, as well as a number of students joining us for virtual learning this fall. So those numbers will jump. We are very focused on advancing students' education in their lives by giving them flexibility and empowering them to engage in different opportunities through learning. So not only are we an online educator that is highly accredited, and I'll speak to more of that later, excuse me, but you should know that this is something we've been doing for a long time. We are not new to virtual learning, and we've worked with a number of districts prior to COVID, through COVID, and we will continue to do so as our lives return to different things. We know that the only thing certain about this year is that there's still uncertainty. And so many of you are choosing to opt into a virtual program due to that uncertainty or needs of your family. Next slide, please. And when you opt into a program with us and with Clover Park School District, you should know that your students are going to receive a number of supports in order to help them succeed in a different type of environment than you may be used to. There are also a number of things that I'll discuss tonight that are going to look a little different from a traditional, what we call seat time program, where students attend in person in a building. So first of all, I want to talk a little bit about all of those supports, and we'll dig into these differently. But Aubrey Lane is our manager of all of our local advocates. Jesus is one of our current academic coaches. And Todd Dahlstad is our local program administrator for Graduation Alliance. So we all work very, very closely with with the district to ensure that everybody and every student receives what they need and their individual needs are met. Students will be going to school with us full time. So they will remain a part of the Clover Park School District. They will have opportunities to participate in district activities, whether that be sports programs, dances, anything that you can imagine as extracurricular. They will have access to all of those activities, but they'll be learning online with us. Our program is what we call asynchronous. And what asynchronous means, for those of you that haven't spent their career like I have in education, is that it is a non-face-to-face program. That provides your family with a large amount of flexibility on how your students and when your students will learn. However, your students will have a number of opportunities for synchronous learning and synchronous support. So all of our classes are taught by Washington State certified teachers, and we are hyper aligned to not only state standards, but the graduation requirements for Clover Park. So you can expect that when your student graduates or when they move on to the next school year, they will be aligned with their classmates. And we're going to work very hard to ensure that that happens, which is why when you opt into this program, we are asking you to opt in for the school year. And I'll get a little bit more into that later. When your student opts into this program, they receive a number of supports from us. First, we provide 4G enabled technology. And what that means in layman's terms is essentially we provide a Chromebook with a hotspot that will work anywhere that the computer works or a cell phone works and is specific to that computer. So for those of you that have worked with hotspots or Wi-Fi, it functions for that computer and only that computer, okay? Every student is taught by Washington State certified teachers, as I mentioned. And then we layer on a number of supports that will help keep them engaged and support them through their learning this year. The first support, and Jesus is an example of that, is what we call an academic coach. You can imagine the academic coach as the person that's going to help keep your student pacing and progressing forward. Whoops, there we go. Those coaches will speak to your student in whatever way they're comfortable. That might be text, that might be voicemail, that might be video conference, that might be phone call, it might be chat through our system. However that your student needs support, we will speak with them. So those academic coaches work really hard to speak with your students as often as possible. And you'll find that your student will oftentimes form a great relationship with that coach. Anything that's academic related is the role of the academic coach. So for example, if your student is in a math course and they need additional supports, maybe they need a study session or time scheduled with their teacher specifically, that coach can help facilitate that. They also will manage the student's learning plan and plan out their courses. They will manage different academic pieces of the program, but they are there to help your students continue to move forward at a consistent and persistent pace in our program. Next, we have what are called local advocates. So we hire folks that live and work in the local community, and we've had this with Clover Park for a number of years now. Those local advocates' jobs are strictly social and emotional support. So their job is to recognize barriers to learning and remove those barriers. So for example, if a student comes without a coat in the winter to a meetup, they will recognize that. They're familiar with both community resources and school resources and can direct your student and your family to those resources if need be. Aubrey's going to talk a little bit more about those local advocates in a minute and all the different things that they can do for us, but I'll circle back to that in a second. On top of that, we offer 24/7 tutoring for all your students. So like my kids, not every student is going to study between 8 and 3 and do their work between 8 and 3. And if they run into a roadblock or a hiccup or they need some help, they'll have a tutor available to them 24/7, okay? So there's a number of supports built around, besides the teaching, besides the curriculum, they're going to help support your student in a virtual environment, okay? I mentioned this is asynchronous. That means that there are no specific times that your student has to log in or log out. You are not expected to be in class at a certain time. However, we do recommend that your student is working daily if possible, okay? After your student continues on the program, we have career and college readiness supports. And then of course, we partner very closely with the district to include district-led programs. Okay, next slide. So why might you be considering virtual learning? Well, there's a lot of reasons. Obviously, Kevin addressed the largest one, which is our COVID-19 concerns or complications. Maybe your family has a health concern, or maybe you don't feel safe returning to in-person learning. That's one reason. Maybe your child has discovered that virtual learning is a better environment for them. Maybe there are social and emotional issues that prohibit your student from being successful. Maybe you are severely behind in credits, or a student severely behind in credits. Those are all things that we are experts in addressing. Our solution offers both middle school and high school students 360 degrees of support. This, again, not only includes technology, teachers, coaches, social and emotional support, 24/7 tutoring, but we're going to give you as parents access, if you want it, to our portal so that you can support your student as well. Okay. Next slide, please. So what makes us different than maybe what you experienced last year? A lot. Our program is designed a little bit differently to help students succeed in a virtual environment. Rather than having a full course schedule like your student is used to, whether that be 5, 6, or 7 courses, our students work in 2 courses at a time. And those courses are paced at 3 to 4 weeks apiece. So your student will be enrolled in typically an elective and a core class at a time. They'll be working in those courses for about 3 to 4 weeks. And as they complete a course, our academic coaches and our team will load another course for them to be working in. So at all times, there will be 2 courses on what we call their dashboard to be working in. Your students will have an opportunity to, like I said, make up any loss of learning or credit deficiencies. They'll also have an opportunity to explore some electives they may not be able to explore. For example, digital photography is one of our most popular classes this year, and it's designed to engage students in a virtual environment and give them an elective that they're excited about. This program is highly flexible. As I mentioned, you are not required to log in at certain times or certain days. It allows you to learn on your own schedule, but within that certain time frame of 3 to 4 weeks per course. You can access our lectures, our readings, our homeworks, and our materials at any time. And this is what we see as a huge benefit for your students, and a big part of the reason that you're opting into virtual learning. At the same time, with that flexibility, we focus highly on each individual student's needs, and we will focus on those needs of the student, whether that be academic needs or social and emotional needs. Again, we wrap our arms around your student. We partner very closely with the Clover Park School District and all of their resources, counselors, and staff. And we provide a quality curriculum that is highly accredited. So I'm going to mention a couple of accreditations. I'm going to go a little bit quickly over them because your eyes might roll back in your head. I think it's very important for you to understand, though, that we take the rigor of our education very seriously, and that we believe strongly that we are one of the best programs out there. So Cognia is actually one of the main accreditation components for our education. We are Cognia accredited, NCAA certified, which if you have a student athlete is very important. Quality Matters, which is another education certification, and ACE accredited. And ACE is an opportunity for your students to earn potential dual credit college courses while they're working with us in the high school program. So go ahead and skip to the next slide. I'll talk a little tiny bit about each of these, but we're going to cruise through them. In order to earn our accreditation through Cognia, we go through a process periodically over the years where we go through a highly vetted review of all of our courses, all of our staff, and how we deliver those materials. This regional accreditation is a way that our company is able to validate the credits that we offer your student and the diploma that's earned through Graduation Alliance. Now, to be clear, your student is a student of Clover Park, and they will receive their diploma from Clover Park School District if they're a senior this year. Okay, but it's highly regarded and recognized by colleges and universities, employers, and even the military. So you should again know that our students are receiving a quality education. Next slide. Quality Matters is another accreditation that we go through. So again, we're very serious about our accreditations. And this integrates the actual state standards and district standards that I spoke to earlier. Again, knowing that your students are receiving an equitable education that allows them to be on pace and sometimes even ahead of their counterparts is a very important choice and a very important piece of information when making a choice to send your student through Graduation Alliance. Next slide. As I mentioned, we are NCAA, which is the athletic accreditation. If you have a student athlete that is looking to continue their athletic career after college, this is a very important piece of that. It's also a very difficult accreditation for us to earn. There are very few organizations out there that have it. And so we're very proud of that. And you should know that that trickles down into everybody's education, because to meet those standards is very difficult. And we have done that year after year. Okay, next slide. So this is where we get into the piece where you care mostly. What should you expect, and what is different and what is similar about what your students are experiencing? I mentioned earlier that a typical day might look a little different. A student is only asked to participate in 2 classes at a time. Excuse my ums tonight. I think I'm on my 12th meeting of the day. I just did it again. These are self-paced courses with what I call expected progress. So if you have a student that chooses to accelerate, they can do that. But we will ensure through our academic coaching and supports that your student is pacing and progressing at an expected progress. So if we find that a student isn't logging in often enough, if they're not completing enough assignments, there will be a coach and an advocate there to support that learning, along, of course, with their teachers and other support staff that we have. We had a question earlier prior to the session about AP and IB. While this program is very robust and we have opportunities for dual credit courses, this is not an AP or an IB program. And so if your student is looking to participate in an AP or an IB program, you may want to talk to the district about returning to school. We do not offer AP or IB options in our program currently. Okay. Next, what about the transition back into the building and the commitment for the year? So part of the reason we're asking you to commit for the year is that we want to be able to transition your student back into in-person learning when your family is comfortable with that. And in order to do that, we manage their learning plan a little different. So you can imagine if you're taking a course or 2 each month and your student wants to transfer back into the building mid-semester, what that might look like. If they've already completed English, they wouldn't be able to put English on their schedule. And so there's a lot of pieces behind the scenes that go into this decision. Obviously, there are exceptions to every rule, and we will consider all of those exceptions, and we'll work very closely with the district. But we ask that you consider strongly that this is a year-long commitment for your student. And the benefits are strictly for you and for your student and their transition and seamless transition back into the buildings when the time is right. Okay, next slide. So how do you participate? If you have not already signed up, you can go to your district website and there should be a link for enrollment. That link will be under your parent tab. I think this was by last Friday, Kevin, is that right? So it's already up. Okay, so this is already up. So if you're on this call tonight to understand the virtual option and consider it for your student, and you've decided after we speak tonight that this will fit your life and your needs, then you'll need to go to the district website and enroll. You must opt in or out of the program by September 10th. That does a number of things. It gives your student an opportunity to be exposed to the program and understand if it's something that's going to work for you. And if not, opt back into in-person learning. It also gives you some time to consider your options for your student. As we know, the world is evolving day by day, and as are all of our lives. I have students as well, and mine changes by the hour. So we have decided that students must opt in or out by September 10th. Again, specific circumstances may require us to consider, exceptions to the rule. I was blanking on the word there, but that is the date that the district has decided on. Next page, please. Okay, so I want to give you a quick look at what you will see. As I mentioned earlier, every parent will have an opportunity to be involved heavily with their student. However, we do not require that. You will have opportunity to see what your student is doing at a very high level and a very detailed level. We track and record all of their assignments, all of their work, their logins, interaction with their coaches, interaction with their advocates, and all of that is visible to you as a parent and a family. And so we're a very transparent organization, and we welcome any support that a family can offer. We do know, however, that families are limited in that support, and many of you are tired. So I want you to know that your students are in great hands. That's why we have so many supports. But I'm going to show you what it looks like for your student and for yourself to see what's going on in their day-to-day world. So these are some screenshots from our actual student interface. Most of our feedback that we receive is that students love our program for a number of reasons, but one of the key reasons is that our interface is very simple to use. You won't be navigating different websites, different places to go, different places to upload. It will all be in one place. We will do a full tutorial training with your student on how to function, and we will be there to support them every step of the way. And I'm going to show you how you can get help if you need it. Next slide, please. So this is the basic snapshot when a student logs in. On the left-hand side is their dashboard. So we call the first shot their dashboard. That shows you kind of basically what's coming. There'll be a list of the classes that your students are enrolled in, and a link to help wherever they need it. So if you need tech support, if you have a problem logging in, if you need study sessions, you can click on these links very easily and reach help at any point. You'll notice also that it lists the class that the student is working in. Many of these things are what we call hyperlinks. So if you go ahead and go to the next slide, that's great. If you hover over each one of these things, so for example, the assignments completed, it will show you each of these assignments. And in a non-black and white environment, the assignments that are completed are highlighted, and you can click through to any assignment at any time. So your students know what they need to complete when they need to complete it. There's also a list of their current tasks, upcoming assignments, grading feedback, past due assignments, a direct link to their teachers, which I think is very important. So at any time, if a student needs to reach out to their teacher, they can reach them by chat, email, or phone call. If it's after hours, the teacher is expected to return that message within 24 hours. So we hold our staff and our teachers highly accountable for the engagement that they have with your students. And again, if they need a synchronous in-person support session with their teachers, a coach, an advocate, this is where they can reach out for some help and schedule those. The coach will help facilitate that. Next slide. Again, this is another snapshot, a little bit drilled down into the course. So you'll notice this is a biology course, what's expected in the unit, each unit's activities, the assignments due and completed for each of these. There are links always to the messages. We hyperlink everything so that the student can easily navigate where they need to go. You're not having to exit out of and go back into different systems to find and upload. It is all in one ease of use place. Next slide. This is another snapshot for you as a parent and also for our coaches and our team to look at. This drills into a little bit more of the pace and progress that your students making. I know this might be hard to see, but along the bottom are actually specific days. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And you can see which course the student has worked in, if they've logged in, if they submitted assignments, and each of those are color coded for ease of use. Above that, you can see when the student is expected to complete the course. You can see the course name, their progress, which is how much of that course have they completed to this point, their current grade, and the number of assignments that remain. Next to that, all the way to the right-hand side is, again, a menu list for your students to see which staff are assigned. So under assigned staff, you would see the contact for their local advocate, the contact for their coach, the contact for their teachers. We're going to talk a little bit about what our local advocates offers as far as meetups in just a second, and they'll see the meetups there. There's lots of different information that you can easily access here. You can't break the system, I think. We haven't yet had anybody be able to do it. So don't hesitate to navigate around our system and get what you need. If at any time you need help, you can always reach out to a teacher or a coach. So just know that if you're confused about where to go to your teacher, go to your coach, or go to your advocate. Those team members work very closely with one another to support your student. They communicate constantly about what's going on with your student and how they can best help your student succeed. Next page. Kevin, do you want me to go ahead and go through this, or did you want to jump in before I have Aubrey and Jesus talk a little bit about their roles with your student?
Great, I'll jump in. Just a couple reminders from the presentation. We want students to have full access to the activities that are involved in their home school. So sports clubs are totally open to participate. However, transportation to the school will be on the family, but our activity buses can take you home. Students also will have full access to our social emotional supports, our mental health supports resources available at their school. And there is a new requirement that all students must have proof of immunization, whether they're in person or virtual. And again, that's not COVID vaccination, it's immunization. Uh, and also for students that may had struggled and need to retrieve some credits at the high school level, they can accommodate, Graduation Alliance can accommodate credit retrieval options as they participate in the Grad Alliance program. And just to answer a couple questions, students in the IB program, I really encourage you to talk with Principal Rupik about it, because in the 11th and 12th grade, well, it's a IB is a 6-12 program that really provides uh, IB education through the whole years. However, the full program starts the 11th and 12th grade year. And there are things that so if you started in 6th grade and left for a year and then came back, that's a possibility. If you're an 11th or 12th grader, it would be difficult to get your diploma through our program. So please talk with Principal Rupik, and then decisions can be made. Also, for students on 504 or IEP plans, what we do is, if you apply on the district website, we'll analyze the need. And what we'll do is if there is a special thing we have to consider, we will bring it to the school counselor, who will assess it. And we will then present that to Grad Alliance so that they can make the proper accommodations, and 504 accommodations and SPED accommodations.
So
However,
Kevin, I want to layer on that if that's okay.
yeah, please.
We provide full accommodation specifically for 504s. With an IEP, as Kevin mentioned, we work very closely with the SPED coordinator with the district, and we will evaluate that. We will assess each student as they enter the program to ensure that they are able to be successful in our program. And if they're not, we'll have a discussion about that. For IEPs that require in-person services, so if your student is receiving services, the district will provide an opportunity where possible for those services. So yes, we do work with students with IEPs and 504s all the time. We will evaluate on a student by student basis if that is possible, depending on your student's needs. So it absolutely is something we can do. So for those of you that have students that have special ed needs or 504 needs, that is absolutely something we can typically do.
And then the last that I'll address, and we'll address more questions later, is that you will get a Chrome computer from Graduation Alliance. But if you already have a computer, you do not have to turn that in. You will keep that, and you can use that as an extra resource throughout the year. However, if you are a 12th grader, we'll ask you to turn it in after the 12th grade year.
Yeah. So one of the things I think that we have, I mentioned there's some differences between what your students might have been used to last year in a virtual environment and what this program will look like. As a parent, you're not going to be required to log in at certain times, and your student isn't going to have necessarily a full schedule of classes at the same time. However, based on the way that we pace courses and plan them out, by the end of the semester and the end of the year, they will still complete the same number of courses. We know from years of experience in a virtual environment that students are more successful when they're juggling less courses at a time. They're able to engage more heavily. And that engagement and support is critical in a virtual environment, which leads me to the next piece. And actually, Aubrey is there. My name is under her picture, but this is Aubrey Lane. Aubrey manages our local advocates, and I want to give Aubrey just a couple seconds to talk a little bit about what her team is going to do to support the Clover Park School District and the opportunities that your student will have to have additional support. So Aubrey, if you wouldn't mind just giving us a snapshot of what a local advocate does and what we're going to be doing with Clover Park this year, that'd be great.
Yeah, thanks, Beth. It is a really unique position that I'm so excited we get to offer to your students. And I know we have a number of terms that are potentially a little bit different than what you would find at brick and mortar. So academic coach, they're the ones who really handle and hold all of your academic progress and pacing. And the local advocates are there to support you through your academic journey in a different lens. So we are here for you in the social emotional support. What that looks like is we host what we call meetups every week multiple options a week. And what those meetups are a time to come together, to collaborate, to build rapport, to touch base about classes, to do activities. Really, it's a time to come together with your peers on a regular and consistent basis in order to get your needs met and your questions answered. So I like to think of local advocates as kind of the home base in our program, where if you were to come to a meetup and you had a question about an assignment, we would plug you in with your teacher or your academic coach. If you were to come to our meetup and you had questions about, a job application you were filling out, we would help you fill that out. So really our purpose and our goal is just to be an asset for you as you navigate this school journey. We are blessed as an online school where we were operating prior to COVID. So we have some of these fundamentals already worked out. And although we've shifted to being online, we host meetups just like you are here tonight. Our cameras are on, we're talking, or you're sharing your screen. If you're not comfortable with having your camera on, you don't have to have it on. But really our goal is just to come together every single week to touch base and to be a resource for you.
Thanks, Aubrey. So as Aubrey mentioned too, currently in the state of the world, our meetups are virtual, but we encourage your students to participate in those. And we actually, I don't want to say require, but we strongly encourage them to attend those meetups. There's a lot of different pieces that come out of that. It also provides students an opportunity to engage both virtually and in the future, hopefully in person, where you feel safe. With their peers. So there will be chat and discussions and group projects and things built into their courses where they'll have interaction with other students. But really those meetups are a great opportunity for that social interaction too. And so while we don't place an emphasis on that piece, we know how important that is to a student's education and their career. And we want to encourage the families to participate in those. We're looking at doing potential events in the community. There's all kinds of things that we're considering as the days change. And so we will continue to roll that information out to you. Lastly, I'd love to invite Jesus as an academic coach to talk a little bit more about the coach's role, because again, each one of these folks, and your student will know their coach, they'll know their advocate, and they will know their teacher. So each one of these folks will be assigned to your students, and your students will know how to reach them. But I want Jesus to talk a little bit about the differences of what an academic coach does in opposition to what our advocates do as well. Jesus, are you able to speak?
Yes, hopefully
Great.
everybody's able to hear me. So yes, so there's like two parts. It is like LA and the academic coaches, which I'm the one of the academic coaches that currently works with students already. So basically the big differences is that we, as academic coaches, we keep the student accountable for being there on a weekly pacing assignments and to making sure that they are always on top of those assignments and completing their classes, right? Because we know that being online, the student can easily fall off track because they get that flexibility that Beth was talking about, like the student maybe wanting to join and do some schoolwork at the beginning of the week, or what if they decide they don't want to do work until like Friday. So we want to make sure that the student is either still keeping that engagement throughout the whole entire week, and if the student is having trouble with classes, making sure that the student is getting the proper tutoring and making sure that they're able to meet with their teachers. And if there's something going on within like the family or like motivation wise and stuff like that, we are also a tool that the student can utilize, and we can kind of connect with the local advocates, and we can all work together to help out the students. So that just shows you that we are similar in a way, because we want to make sure that the student's always motivated, but we work more with like the academic side of it, right? We give you the courses, we're making sure that you're pacing with the class, and making sure that you're actually enjoying in the classes, right? We're not just gonna give you a class that you're gonna be like, oh, my student doesn't like this course, right? And we don't want to make sure that we repetitively give you the course that the student's not gonna like, because the whole point of this online system is the student is doing better, and that they're making sure that they recover the credits that they need, or that they get the credits that they need, and in order to whenever they go back to normal school, they're still on track with their grade.
So as we mentioned, there's a number of supports. Again, your student will receive a 4G enabled Chromebook directly from us, and we'll ship that to your student's home and to your home. You'll receive an academic coach, a local advocate, 24/7 tutoring. All those supports wrapped together are designed to help your student be engaged in a virtual environment and to support you as a family in your student doing well in this program. However, this is not apples to apples. So there are some courses that we cannot deliver in a virtual environment, but there are other courses that we get to deliver that a student might get access to that they wouldn't in Clover Park. For example, I mentioned digital photography. That seemingly is a big one during this time of COVID. It really engages kids. It gives them something fun to get excited about, and you can receive elective credit for that. So we've done a full curriculum mapping to Clover Park specifically. And where there are any discrepancies, the counselor will work with us and the families to find courses that fit your students' needs and wants and desires to have a great experience with us. And I think that really is, we've unloaded a lot of information on you. I know you have a lot to consider. And so I'd like to, Kevin, if it's okay, open it up to answer any additional questions that may come out and address anything that we can to ensure families have the information they need to make a good decision.
So I did see they asked about the elementary presentation, and that will be coming up. We are running a different system for the elementary presentation. It's called Pearson Learning Experience, and they will give a presentation much like Graduation Alliance. That will be on Thursday, August 26th at 5:30 p.m., a virtual session. And you can go to the district website under Return to Learning and then scroll down, and there's a link there for that session.
So Kevin, there's a question there that says, will the regular DP program continue?
I think they're referring to the IB diploma program. So again, we can't offer that online. So it would be determined by the grade level of your student and where they're in the progression of the program. The diploma program officially starts in the 11th and 12th grade. So please refer to Principal Ruprecht and consult with him before making any decisions.
Okay. There's a question also that we skipped over. Is there a lunch program?
Great question. We don't have a lunch delivery program. However, all students are allowed to come to school during the school's lunch and pick up a lunch. And if they feel comfortable, well, they could eat there or they can pick up a lunch.
Okay, we had another question about the first day of school. Someone asked if it was September 1st. Yes, our first day of school is Wednesday, September 1st for both virtual and in-person school.
Yeah, and a couple on that, there's a question about virtual online start time. As I mentioned before, this is flexible. So we're really designing a program that will allow you and your families and your student to learn in whatever time period during the day they feel is best. We do strongly encourage you to work most days if at all possible, but the start time is really up to you. So I know, for example, I lovingly call my children vampires. Maybe that's because I'm not, but they tend to be kids that work a little bit later in the afternoon and the evening. So you may have a student that does that, and that we can accommodate that.
We got a question if the Chromebooks will be mailed to the families' homes for those who choose the Graduation Alliance virtual option.
Yes, it will. We'll mail that directly to the student or to the family. And if you need any support with that, you'll be reaching out to us, not the district. So we are tech support, we are help desk, and there are links and information that you'll receive in order to be able to contact us at any point.
And there is no charge for the computers. They are
No.
part of the program.
Yes, correct. There's no charge for any of this, just to be clear.
We have a question, says started the webinar late. Is middle school in person and virtual or just virtual?
So the middle school graduation alliance, just like the high school, it's all virtual, but you do have access to all our clubs and activities and sports that are in person.
Can I add that it's the family's choice? If they would like to go to school in person, they don't need to do anything. If they were in our district last year, if they would like to attend school virtually, then they would need to fill out the Graduation Alliance form that's located on our website.
And yes, you'll register via that form and they will reach out to your family to confirm your enrollment in either in the virtual program if that's what you're interested in. Did we miss anything?
Someone's
Oh, student success rate. Great question. Ooh, I like this one. So the student success rates are a little bit different from class to class, and it depends. We do a lot of work outside of this with dropout prevention and recovery students. I am happy to post a link to some efficacy around online learning, but success rates with our program are very good. We are tracking at about 15% higher than the state average right now.
And then someone asked about the link. The link is actually live now. If you go to our website, it is there ready to go now if you'd like to register.
And there was a question about the link to the recording of the middle school presentation. I believe that's on your YouTube channel, correct, Tracy?
It is, and I can look up that link. I believe it was posted earlier in the chat as well.
Can you reach that link via your school or your district website as well?
Yes, you can. If you go to our district, it's on our district YouTube site, but you can get there from there.
Okay. What else? How do parents get a link to the child's progress? So this is real time. You as a parent can and will have access to that portal, and at any time can log into that portal real time and exactly how your student's pacing and progressing. Of course, the district will mail out their typical progress reports and report cards. We will be providing those grades to the district, and the district will then issue those typical reports that you're used to getting. But at any time, you can log into this portal as a parent and see how your student is doing.
We have a question. Can a student participate in Running Start and Graduation Alliance?
That is a very unique situation. And so that's a case by case. So we'd like you to consult with your schools on that. There might be a potential in doing that.
Kevin, there's a question that says, do the students still have access to Clover Park computer programs, or are they solely using GA?
You will still have, if you have a Clover Park computer, you do not have to turn that in. You will still have your ID login. You'll still have access to the learning apps and the access to the resources. So yes, you'll have access to two resources. You just won't have a class to go to.
And we have a question about how the state testing works with the program.
That's another great question.
So state testing is provided by the school district. Those testing dates and times will be coordinated, but students will still be required to participate in those state tests if needed.
So what we are planning right now for state testing is to potentially do cohort groups of our online students. So you wouldn't be testing in a big group of kids right now. So that's in the planning stages. But it would mean for our smarter balance tests to be transported to the school. And based on numbers, we'll have to look at that process.
There's a question about finding out what their classes are. So if your student did not register already for classes, that's something where you need to reach out or the council will reach out to them. Otherwise, whatever your student registered for last year for their class schedule. So remember, it won't be a particular schedule. We're going to take that learning plan and disperse that a little bit. So if you need, if you aren't sure of your students' classes that they signed up for. Now, if there are any classes on that schedule that are not deliverable in a virtual environment, we'll look at replacing some of those, particularly electives, with classes that are available.
Okay, the link I just posted is actually for the elementary session. If anyone's interested in that, I'm going to post the registration link for virtual.
Okay, Kevin, can you clarify? There was a question around in the application for the current homeschool section. Would that be Clover Park or would it be the previous school that the student was in?
It would be so what I am thinking is this: a student transferring from 8th to 9th grade. So if you're transitioning from 8th to 9th, for example, maybe going from Lockburn to Clover Park, you would put in your 9th grade. That's your homeschool. If you're, and so um, the school you would be at this year would be your homeschool.
Yeah. Another question, will each student get separate computers? Yes, they will. So if you have 2 students in high school, they will each have their own computer and their own hotspot. If they choose to opt into a graduation alliance. I know we're getting close on time and we have another session following this. We are going to compile, and if there's any other questions, we'll try and get to those, but we are going to try and compile an FAQ document. And of course, you can reach out to the school district with any questions that you may have going forward. School counselors and school resources are a great option for that. Do you see anything else, Tracy, that we might have missed?
I don't see anything that we've missed this time.
Okay.
Well, with that, I'd like to thank everyone for participating, especially the Graduation Alliance team. Thank you for being here. Thanks, Tracy. Thanks, Leanna. Thanks, school administrators that also are on, and counselors that are listening to the session, and you parents. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We want to do what's best for your student and what you feel is the best educational environment for them. So again, look for this to be posted soon in the next few days. And if you do have any other questions, please feel free to call us, to call your school, your principal, or call my office, Assistant Superintendent of Secondary Education. Tracy, what's our number?
253-583-5165.
Well, thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thanks,
All right.
everybody.
Thanks, everyone.